Hey there, this is the One Boom, and it's December 14th, which means it's 1 month since Black Ops 7, and it's the first night of Hanukkah. So yeah, we're going to talk about Black Ops 7. I am about to be max prestige. I am level 47, prestige 10, and on stream today, after this video goes live, I'm going to be streaming. I'm going to be hitting max prestige, getting some extra levels done, and chatting with you guys, so if you want to, hit the bell icon to get notified when I go live. I will probably be live for the rest of the day that this video goes up, so if you're watching this video on the day it went up, I'm probably live right now. So come on in and say hi. Anyway, I have written down my pros and cons and my deal breakers with Black Ops 7 1 month after launch, and I'm going to start with my cons, which are well defined because there's so much blind hatred and negativity towards this game. I want to define the things that I consider to be a con, and then pros, I'll talk about what I like about the game, what I'm enjoying the most about the game, and then my deal breakers that could literally keep me from wanting to play the game anymore going forward. So let's start with my first con, which is weapon balance. And I'm not talking that some weapons are overpowered and some weapons are underpowered. I'm saying it feels like there are two types of guns in this game, and one type is made for the game. They're intuitive, low recoil, versatile, clean looking, that operate with a high degree of consistency, and another group that feels more high recoil, high visual recoil, clunky, difficult to use iron sights, and it feels more like a weapon from like Modern Warfare 2 instead of Black Ops 7, which is fine for Modern Warfare 2, but doesn't fit at all here in this faster paced, more arcade-like twitch shooter. My first example of this is the Raiden 45K and the Dravik SMG. The Raiden 45K has crazy visual recoil, hard to use iron sights, high actual recoil, and overall just doesn't feel competitive or easy to use compared to something like the Dravik, which is low visual recoil, low recoil in general, and I don't even think it's just that, you know, one weapon has a different niche than the other. They both just feel like they're from different games, regardless of whether or not they are for different playstyles. Call of Duty always has guns that have higher recoil, higher rates of fire, they're for different playstyles. That's always a thing, but all of the guns usually feel like they're for the same game. And that's not the case with those two weapons and many others in the game. Some of them just feel so clunky and difficult to manage. Like, the Nova line is a good gun, but it feels like it belongs to a different, slower shooter compared to the M8, which feels very snappy and robust and actually built for the hectic combat of BO7. So there are two different games of guns here, and I really hope they're able to make them all more consistent, snappy, and I don't want to waste an entire, 5 minutes on this video talking about this, so I'm going to move on, but that is my issue with the weapon balance. And one last thing about it, though. People don't talk about iron sights enough. When a gun has unusable, really bad, inconsistent to aim with iron sights that get in the way, it essentially nerfs the gun because I have to use one of my attachments for an optic no matter what, if I want to perform optimally. So when I only have 5 attachments by default and one of them is going to an optic, then I feel like I need to use gunfighter and then I don't have perk greed, and it's just not the best, and that happens a lot in this game. Next thing is the spawns, more specifically squad spawns. Non-objective game modes are ruined by squad spawns. I hate it. If you don't know what a squad spawn is, essentially what non-objective game modes do, like kill confirmed and team deathmatch, what they do is they will spawn you or your enemies near teammates, meaning people roaming around the map are the spawn point. So the spawn points are constantly rotating all the time, and on top of that, you have an incredibly flippy spawn system where if you get near an enemy spawn location, like their normal home spawn first thing in the match, they will immediately spawn behind your team, even if your team hasn't really pushed out of their spawn. It's irritating. So between the flippy spawns and the squad spawns, I'm constantly doing 180s, checking my back and keeping my head on a complete swivel, and it makes the game feel hectic and hard to control or have any sort of consistent performance in because you're constantly getting shot in the back or flanked from other angles. It's not fun. Next thing is pretty subjective and could be a skill issue, and it's also due in part to open matchmaking, but there are a lot of insta-kill weapons in my lobbies. There's a couple factors that are attributing to this. Every weapon has a level 250 mastery camo that people want to get to. For instance, the very sought after weaponized 115 camo is attached to the Echo 12, which is a 2-shot shotgun that can absolutely ruin your day. And that's just one example, but there's a lot of things in the game that drop you immediately. Getting one bursted by the Maverick, getting one bursted by the M8, getting hit by the Jaeger's Prestige Barrel, getting hit by the Nova line, getting hit by the Warden, getting hit by the sniper rifles. and of course the shotguns, and if they don't kill you in one shot, they're spammable enough to hit you with the next one, like with the Akita automatic shotgun that's now able to be dual wielded with fire shells. What the fuck? And I get it, like, Call of Duty games and Call of Duty pubs get to have the variety of weapons and get to have a lot of spike potential. Not consistent potential, spike potential. On paper, it seems balanced, but when you actually play with it, or in this case, play against it, it equals a lot of frustrating deaths, even if it's not necessarily top tier and you're gonna have top tier performance with it. You're just sort of in the game to frustrate your opponents out of gunfights, and it sucks. And as somebody who's now going for arc-light shotguns, I know how many times I completely remove a gunfight from somebody with shotguns that have longer range than maybe the other person is expecting, or because I'm able to close the distance with slides and wall jumps, they're not expecting me to just already be there in their face taking them out. So that definitely impedes my enjoyment of the game, and I thought I'd share it because if you're thinking about buying the game, it might impede yours. And if you're already playing the game, how do you feel about this? I feel like pubs is okay for this, so it's not a big deal. Like, I get that Call of Duty is always going to have that spike potential set of weapons, but I swear to God, every single match I play, somebody is using something that wipes me off the face of the planet and completely negates a gunfight that I'm trying to get into, and it makes the game feel kinda gimmicky. Speaking of gimmicky, equipment spam is my next issue. AI drones, nades, skewers, dogs, noob tubes, stuns, EMPs, so much stuff. And with all the bullshit I want to counter, it's frustrating that I'm only allowed a maximum of 4 perks. If I want to counter the CUAV and UAV spam, I have to have Ghost and Vigilance. If I want to counter grenades, I have to run Tac Mask or Flak Jacket, depending on which ones I'm dealing with. And then most importantly, and the massive crutch of this game, is Cold-Blooded, because it keeps you off of getting hit by skewers, dogs, HCXDs, and people are actually getting streaks in this game, which is a good thing, but unfortunately, it's happening so much and people are throwing so many things at me, I have to constantly build to counter at least a couple of them. In my opinion, not having Vigilance or not having Cold-Blooded is a death sentence for going on any sort of long streak because something is going to take you out or overwhelm you. If you wanted to run Flak Jacket, Tac Mask, and Vigilance Cold-Blooded, you could do that, but that's all 4 perks and perk greed. You can't run Gunfighter, you can't run anything else, and then you still probably want to run FMJ on a weapon so that you can shoot a streak down or run a launcher, because there's so much shit happening in the game all the time, and it just sucks that we don't have pick 10 or any sort of actual trade-offs in our created class. I mean, we did in Modern Warfare 3, God bless them, but for so long now, your enemies don't have to trade anything to equip a grenade or whatever, they just have to pick the grenade or whatever they want to use, and you have to sacrifice parts of your playstyle to counter it, so you can't really be the super stealthy player or the super fast player because you have to contend with a bunch of free grenades. And then drone pods and assault packs make this worse. Why are we giving people assault packs and drone pods right off the bat of the game? Because that's just going to keep them chalked up on grenades, and the drone pod is just something that pushes you out of engagements or makes you one-shot for engagements or causes you to like have to take your aim off of like an actual area an enemy's going to be and shoot a tiny drone, and you have to run Cold-Blooded, otherwise they will take you out sometimes. It's nonsense, it's stupid, and it's very gimmicky. It makes the game feel very messy. But that's really just sort of subjective stuff. Yeah, there's overpowered guns and annoying equipment. Welcome to Call of Duty, right? Well, I have more of a Black Ops 7 specific issue that I think actually hurts the game quite a bit. And that is movement. Most importantly, character movement and how it translates in first and third person. So let me explain this. First things first, there are slower reloads, slower center speeds, and stance transitions that feel like even with the improvements they've made since the beta, they're incorrect. There is so much jerky movement in the game that feels like it's attached to a different, slower video game. Maybe the game that the engine was built around, Modern Warfare 2, which was great for Modern Warfare 2. I'm okay with Modern Warfare 2 being a slower, clunkier COD with jerkier movements, that's fine. But this game is obviously not intended for that audience and is not intended to have those mechanics. I should not have to attach a laser to get proper hip fire to ADS accuracy. I should not have to attach a muzzle to make my shot reset time go from 800 milliseconds to 100 milliseconds. There's so much wiggling and shaking and visual recoil and smoke that gets kicked up, and it feels very odd, and certain reloads on certain guns are so slow and done without any urgency from your character. Again, it feels like it belongs in a different, more methodical game. which I love different, more methodical Call of Duty games. I love the back and forth of the different styles of Call of Duty. But this is this one, and you have to do this one correct first and not prepare for the next one. I feel like people talking about the engine in Call of Duty is just one of the most uninformed things ever. We're not developers, we don't get it, and we use terms like netcode and engine and whatever, and we don't really know what it means, we're not devs. But, I'm sorry, it definitely feels like they're trying to shoehorn their own game design into an engine that was designed around one type of game. So my thinking is, instead of Infinity Ward making an engine that everyone else has to sort of heel-toe to, which I don't know why Activision is designating them to do that. I think each dev studio should be able to make their own engine, whatever. I feel like if Infinity Ward is the engine developer of the franchise, and they're going to make whatever engine the devs are going to use for the next 6 years, they're the ones that have to do that, they should make one for each studio. Like Infinity Ward, if you guys are the talented technical ones that can make a whole revision of the COD engine, then you should make one that every dev team can work to their own standards. Because this leads me to my next problem. Black Ops 7 should have faster actions and interactions. I feel like a lot of things our characters do with their hands is just slow and clunky and doesn't fit in with the game. As well as a lot of visual noise that makes the game feel more immersive, but completely unnecessary for the type of game that it is. Alternatively, the base character movement and momentum from a third-person perspective is where this problem really lies. It can look instant, as if a character's position in a single frame will change. Sometimes it feels like animation frames are missing. What I think's causing this is that the engine has models that are designed to move at a certain speed, designed to mantle at a certain speed, and designed to look a certain way in third person. And it was beautifully done in Modern Warfare 2. It was beautifully done in Modern Warfare 2019. When somebody would mantle something, it looked right. And I would say the same for Vanguard, and I would say the same for Cold War, which was still using the older COD engine. The animations from both a third and first person perspective made total sense. But now it feels like that first and third person desync from the old 360 era CODs has slipped its way back into the series. This problem was, like I'm saying, not present in previous Call of Duty games like MW2, and I started to notice it in BO6, where it felt like the game's models and animations were not designed to move at faster speeds, and that makes total sense. Obviously, this is a thing. If the models aren't designed to mantle, 0.7 seconds faster, then the model's mantle and the number value associated to the model will look out of sync. So characters will immediately mantle something or change their momentum in a single frame, and it makes it very hard to track targets in certain situations and makes the game feel like it's lagging, but I don't think it's lagging. I think they're changing the numerical values under a model that isn't designed to move at that numerical value. So, hence why we're stuck with some slower animations and some clunkier animations that just don't really feel like they fit the tone and speed and pacing and balance of the game. So, just like how it feels like there are two different types of weapon in the game, it feels like there's two different types of movement and animation going on that makes the game feel out of sync, clunky, and unpolished. Is it game ruining? No. Do you run into it every gunfight or every engagement? No. But if you guys would like, I can start recording every time I notice it in game and then compile it into a video for you guys to talk more about this in a later video. I don't want to waste the rest of this video on the topic, but it's my biggest issue with the game so far. Sort of. It is an issue, but I don't feel like it's an issue that's necessarily their fault. I don't think it's really anyone's fault. I just genuinely think that when Infinity Ward is tasked with creating an engine, they should also create one for Treyarch that allows for more flexibility. I'm speaking in general terms because I'm not a developer. I know it's all more nuanced than what I'm describing. I'm just trying to get a video done here, so please forgive me for speaking with any ignorance here. Now let's talk about my pros. The things I love about the game, and this is going to be a little bit faster, a little bit less defined, and so we're just going to speed through these as fast as I can with it making sense. So, pros, vibe and feel. The game's aesthetic and tone is actually really good, and now that we have a lot of futuristic skins added to the game with the latest Season 1 stuff and the new bundles, the game actually has its sort of tactical 2035 military vibe. There's some skins that break that aesthetic, but in general, the game has a theme. The maps have a theme, the HUD has a theme, everything feels like it's a cohesive part of the same game, and I love that. While it does feel like there are certain animations and limitations drawn in from other COD games, the game itself feels like itself. It doesn't just feel like a Warzone rip, it doesn't just feel like a template. and I do appreciate that. I was really worried about that getting back-to-back Black Ops games, and it's nice to see that this game takes its tone and setting and just general vibe kind of seriously. I appreciate it. Next thing is streaks and streak play. I really have hated the last several Call of Duty games from the Treyarch team when it comes to streaks. I feel like Black Ops 4 and Black Ops 3 with specialists being able to just knock you off your streak and maybe even steal your kill streak. If you know, you know. That was pretty bad. Black Ops Cold War had the worst score streak system ever, creating one of the worst public match experiences for me of the whole franchise. I never wanted to improve less at a Call of Duty game than I did Cold War. And Black Ops 6 just had really, really weird score parameters where things cost a ton of score and they encouraged you to use certain perks and specialties to get extra score to actually be able to get streaks, and the streaks themselves weren't that good. And so, again, really hurt the experience. But then Black Ops 7 comes out, and holy shit, finally, obtainable, fun-to-use streaks that dominate the enemy team, can make them rage quit, are counterable, which is good, and it just genuinely solidifies the Call of Duty MP experience. As long as Call of Duty nails create a class, intuitive movement, and streaks, I'm usually happy, and this game definitely does do that, with some caveats, with some issues. Yeah, there's spam, yeah, there's some desync, but you know what? I'm happy with it. Streaks are great. And then we have maps and variety. Not only do we have a lot of maps to play on, they look different. Yeah, there's a lot of sci-fi military facilities in this game, but I don't really care. They look good. You have different size of maps, you have more interesting, like, convoluted maps like Toshin or Homestead, and then you have maps that are a little bit more compact like Blackheart, and then you have maps that are really competitive like Exposure, and I really like that. And we're already getting new and remade maps with the first season of the game here, and it's making the game's like play sessions feel so much more fulfilling over time than Black Ops 6 did. I said this about Modern Warfare 3, I said this about Call of Duty Vanguard, I said this about Black Ops 7. If you give me a lot of maps and a lot of variety, I will play the game longer per session, because I'm not as likely to get burnt out by cookie-cutter repetitive map design or overly simplistic, boring map design. Gunsmith is also a pro. Gunsmith is better this game. There's attachments you can stack for certain stats. You can sort of split up your aim-walking movement speed between two different attachments. You can do two different attachments for vertical or first shot recoil. You can change the stock to be either recoil control, hip fire, flinch resistance. Then of course you have your rapid fire, your headshot barrels, an aim down sight sprint to fire barrel, an aim down sight sprint to fire laser. There's so many things you can stack in this game, and it's actually a lot of fun to build certain guns for singular playstyles, and I like that. And the same goes for my next pro, and actually my next two pros, hybrid specialties and overclocks. I love being able to upgrade and change the characteristics of my lethals, tacticals, and score streaks and field upgrades. And then I also love that I have hybrid specialties. I love operative, I love scout the most. I've made videos on these hybrid specialties and how the game utilizes them really well. I think red and green needs a bit of a buff, but blue and green and red and blue are really good because they're basically always giving you an extra perk if you're using, you know, the right combination. And if you're using all three perks of the same color, you get that specialty plus perk greed. There's a lot of variety there, and I do really appreciate that. I just feel like one of the hybrid specialties should work as some extra counterplay. I feel like maybe red and green could be something that makes you resistant to tactical grenades or frags in a way that Flak Jacket does, so you could use that specialty instead of having to run perks that change up your whole playstyle. Either way. Next, I love wall jumping. I think wall jumping's great. I hear a lot of people saying they should have wall running in the game. We've seen wall running. We've seen wall running in two different CODs and in a lot of other shooters. This is the only wall jump shooter I've played. And maybe it's because I don't play enough games, but I think it's cool. I think Omni movement plus wall jumping makes for a more unique experience, and I'm gonna remember this game because of it. So just like how Advanced Warfare's movement stuck out as the only time that was ever done, if this is the only time this is ever done, that's fine, but it's gonna stick out. It's gonna be the iconic part of this game. And I think the outplay potential is really high. I think the way people are able to manipulate it and, you know, the skill ceiling with it is high enough that, like, I think that's valid and I think that's cool. And I like it. That's it. I think it's cool. I mean, if you haven't been watching competitive COD this year, you definitely should watch the CDL matches. The way players utilize that wall jump is so entertaining and so fun, and I think it's way more interesting than thruster jumping or wall running ever was. The next two things are really big, and that is the post-launch content so far, keeping me engaged and interested and feeling like a kid at Christmas. I love it. And open matchmaking. I really can't stress enough how team balancing in this game is a problem. We'll talk about that more in a little second here. But the matchmaking experience is actually hurting my productivity. My play sessions go on for 8 hours because I'm not fatigued and burnt out by hour 2 of barely keeping my head above water or starting to notice an ebb and flow of easy match, hard match, easy match, hard match, hard match, hard match, easy match. I don't get that experience. It's genuinely random. I can go through multiple games of being absolutely crushed. I can go through multiple games of having the worst team ever. I can be carried occasionally now. I like it. I bump into people going for knife camos now, which I'd never bumped into in the previous games in my skill brackets. I never bumped into that. I've actually played against some shitters that are playing with TV speakers and a single earpiece headset, and they're, cursing at me and calling me bad names, and it's like, wow, this is definitely open matchmaking. Like, it really is. I'm sorry, like, we didn't get rug pulled. It really is open. The player base is being skewed in a lot of different directions with all the different playlists and everything, and standard is not helping. The standard playlist is hurting the situation, but in general, this is the lowest general ping I've ever had out of the last 6 years. This is the best overall matchmaking experience I have had in the last 6 years, and it is hurting my physical productivity. I am having trouble making videos because I've just streamed for 9 hours because I didn't get bored during the stream or tired of the game or burnt out. So honestly, open matchmaking has got to be on my pros list here, because not only do I feel it, I have like visual evidence that I feel it because my streams are longer. I'm having more fun. I don't feel as frustrated and burnt out at the end of a stream like ever now. I've been able to get nukes and crazy high street gameplays, and I've also been pinned in my spawn and been made a fool of, and it feels like classic COD, and I really like it. What are my deal breakers? Team balance and performance. I've mentioned this before. The performance in the game I feel like has improved with some latest updates, and I'll make a video on that soon. But if the performance issues in this game persist, I will never be able to take it seriously as a competitive game in terms of ranked or playing 4s or 8s. So I won't end up playing Console King tournaments, I won't end up playing ranked, and the game could easily die for me if the game never feels like it's running at an actual competitive frame rate on the console that it was designed for, the Xbox Series X. It should be able to hit 120 FPS with the correct optimizations. Don't tell me it can't. I don't care if they have to make it ugly to make it run at a consistent 120. I'll deal with an ugly game, but I should be able to get consistent 120 FPS on a current gen console, and I can't do it. And there are people on PS5 Pros that can't do it. There are people on PS5s that can't do it. And I don't even want to talk about last gen. I feel really bad for those guys. Performance is a deal breaker for me going forward because it's going to hurt the competitive side of the game for me personally. I'm not going to buy a PC just for Call of Duty, and I can explain that in a later video because I think PC Call of Duty is actually a huge problem. Anyway, team balance as well. As much as I love open matchmaking, what does frustrate me is I will be playing half paying attention with a shitty gun, talking to my chat, getting my ass kicked, and then I look and I'm on top of my team with everyone else on my team only getting like 7 kills in 10 minutes of gameplay. And it is really bad. How much, like, yeah, the matchmaking is open, but the EOMM is still kicking in and putting people on my team. It thinks I should be able to carry, and it makes the game miserable sometimes. And if that doesn't get tuned down a little bit, the public match experience is going to become very hard for me to deal with. And if I go to ranked and there's performance issues, that's, yeah, I have good teammates and I have people that want to win on my team, but my performance is bad and I won't feel like an actual competitively viable person, so it's a lose-lose for me. So this needs to be fixed. Anyway, almost 25 minutes in, and that is my month in review. Just to quickly recap, weapon balance, spawns, insta-deaths, equipment spam, and movement, first and third person desync are my main issues in the game. And then when it comes to pros, vibe and feel, streaks and streak play, maps and variety, gunsmith improvements, hybrid specialties, overclocks, movement, wall jumps. I love open matchmaking, and I love the post-launch content. The deal breakers are that team balance and performance, because if one fucks the pub version and the other fucks the ranked version, I'm not going to be able to play the game consistently throughout the year because I will be too burnt out, fatigued, and pissed off. Either way, I'm going to edit this onto some gameplay, put some music in the background, upload it for you guys, and then I'm going to go live, and we're going to hit max prestige, and I'm going to enjoy the first night of Hanukkah by playing Call of Duty with you guys. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.
No, I don't think the word hacker ever came out of our mouths.